So, what is Pokemon Pinball?
Which Pokemon has bumpers and flippers? All of them. Introducing Pokemon Pinball, now with its own Rumble feature for Game Boy Color. The new way to catch them all.
I'm not an expert in pinball mechanics, so if you're looking for that, please don't go anywhere. I appreciate the views on the channel, but I say that straight away just to show I'm coming to this video from an outside perspective. Pinball throughout the years has been adapted to fit many different faces, from popular properties to even the most standard of public domain. With how hot the Pokemon craze of the 90s were, it was only a matter of time before a Pokemon Pinball game was conceived. But how it was made, that's where the real story lies, because they could have just slapped Pokemon images on a standard pinball table and called it a day. Instead, Nintendo chose to drop a Game Boy Color classic. Pokemon Pinball was released on the Game Boy Color in 1999 by HAL Laboratories. At its bare basics, it's pinball. You know, ball rolls around board, hits objects, get points, and use bumper to keep the ball from falling to the dark abyss below. Pokemon Pinball has a secondary objective other than getting the standard high score, and that is to catch them all. Yeah, that's obvious for original Pokemon games, but how in the hell can you catch them all on a pinball table? Well, hang tight, I'll explain. You get your choice of two boards, red and blue, like the games. Each have their own difference in layout, but the most important feature is that each have their own locations that can be chosen. When you start a game, you stop at a random location where you can find specific Pokemon associated with each. How do you catch them? Well, you must enter capture mode, which requires filling the right-hand counter by knocking the ball that way through the spinner and finding the hole that will activate it. Once you do that, a silhouette of a random Pokemon associated area will show up and will gradually brighten up as you hit the bumpers until the Pokemon can be seen fully. From there, the Pokemon will spawn on the board, and you must hit them repeatedly to finally catch them. Then, the game will return to normal play. This is only for basic Pokemon though. How do you evolve them? Well, similar to capture mode, evolving is its own process. You must fill up the left-hand counter this time and found a different hole, Instead of hitting the bumpers, you must hit the rest of the buttons on the board to find 3 items, after which an evolve hole opens up in the middle of the board, which allows any Pokemon you've caught during the current play session to evolve. Those are the important 2 mechanics that allows players to catch Pokemon. Locations can be changed by certain mechanics on each board, including places that aren't available at the beginning of the game to catch obscure Pokemon. But this is how the world of Pokemon and Pinball are combined. Other than this, it's your standard pinball affair. Don't let the ball drop 3 times and get as many points as possible. You can trigger special events by hitting special counters, and by filling the 3 Pokeballs under location by catching an evolving Pokemon, you can trigger a special minigame, which is required to catch the more legendary Pokemon. Once you exhaust all your lives, the game ends, though any Pokemon you catch are registered in the Pokedex from then on. This turns into another reason to continue playing the game, because you want to fill the Pokedex up. And in terms of motive, it's a really good one. The only other notable thing about this game is the cartridge, cause what in the hell is all this? Well, if you put a battery in the back of the game and have the strength of Thor to keep the Game Boy up under the new weight, your game now has Rumble, which honestly is more distracting than anything, so it's not very worth it. Pokemon Pinball fits perfectly with what you would imagine a full-fledged collect-em-all pinball game would be. While the boards themselves are pretty basic, with somewhat shallow mechanics outside of the collecting aspect, the adaptation of this property makes this game an addicting play that you'll continue to come back to try to get the Pokemon you do not currently have. This concept was expanded upon with the game's sequel, Pokemon Pinball Ruby and Sapphire, which was released for the Game Boy Advance in 2003. Though I imagine having to only catch 150 Pokemon in this game is more palatable than the 300 plus in that one. Pokemon Pinball gets 3 tilts out of 5.